After 6 years of homelessness and battling addiction together, I yearn for affection from my stunning partner, but all I get is it's too much work and shut up, I don't want to hear none of that. Why can't she see my pain or even hold my hand? Is our love worth saving? We were homeless for the entire duration when we were not intimate. I understood the reasons, but now that we are stable, I do not comprehend why nothing has changed. It has been 6 months and I am not an aggressive person when it comes to intimacy. However, now that we are sober, isn't it natural to want those original endorphins to be released? For such a long time, I felt numb and did not care about anything, not even myself. We supported each other during a really tough period, but there were a few instances where she acted hurtfully toward me. Things that were once abnormal became the norm. Gradually, hand-holding, hugging, and spooning ceased over time. I didn't really notice until I paid attention, if that makes sense. She forgot my birthday 2 years into being homeless and didn't realize it until 2 days later when I finally mentioned it. I felt embarrassed to bring it up, but I couldn't help myself. She apologized, and I truly believe she forgot due to the stress that comes with living on the streets. Yes, I understood, but at the same time I didn't. Fast forward, I would panhandle, which I disliked immensely because I knew I could do much better. I felt ashamed and embarrassed, the whole range of emotions. I earned more money than she did and possessed the patience and personality to converse with people, so she usually did not do it. It was my responsibility. She would do the running, which carried risks. I felt we both contributed, but my role heavily impacted my self-esteem. People are extremely unkind and rude to the homeless, not to mention violent, so you can imagine we both were miserable, depressed, and merely in survival mode. One day she became upset with me for using the last of our supplies and abandoned me for 3 entire days and nights. I genuinely thought she had more resources. She had left me for 12 hours and I was sick, so whatever I had I used. It was only one item. I apologized and was preparing to panhandle, which would have generated money in an hour or less. That wasn't sufficient for her, she left me. I assumed she would return, as she would never leave me alone on these streets of Philadelphia. I was very mistaken. I attempted to find her and succeeded. She literally ran from me. I discovered that she was staying with a friend at her house, taking showers, enjoying herself, spending money, eating, posting cute selfies on Facebook, carefree and happy, while I felt so lost, hurt, and heartbroken, sleeping alone and unable to mentally process everything because I missed her so much that it made me feel physically ill. I found her again on the second day and she promised to meet me at a specific time. That time came and went with no sign of her. On the fourth day, she came to where her friend stayed, BM 50 under a bridge. I was alone and he offered me company, so I was present when she arrived. I do not know if she came there before seeing him, but I do not trust her. She didn't even hug me, apologize, or anything. She simply laid down beside me. It was cold, so body heat was essential. I was grateful she returned, but felt as if we were sweeping everything under the rug. She admitted she overreacted, and that was the end of it. Fast forward, I started to feel like a slave. If we were broken, I was sick, it didn't matter. I had to get up and panhandle before she would ever do so. I mean, I was experiencing fever, cold sweats, and vomiting. No sympathy was shown towards me by her. I continued to provide for us while she would run away, and I trusted her completely. I knew she would not betray me, but was always scared she would leave me again. She protected me one night when a man punched me in my face and throat. She knocked him out. She had warrants, so she went to jail. I was fortunate to have a fake name since I had the same warrants as her. I could not survive without her. When she left me for 3 days, I knew I could not handle being incarcerated. 4 days later, I entered rehabilitation. A month later, she was released and checked into rehab with me. She left after 3 days, and I followed her once I realized. Positive aspect was that we remained on medication-assisted treatment. We engaged in other behaviors that were not healthy, but one significant burden was lifted from our shoulders. Our lives and minds began to change slowly. I could no longer enjoy the high from cocaine, and my motivation to panhandle diminished. The only reason left was her. I complied for her, but I started to think about us and how messed up this situation was. I wanted our lives back, and I wanted us back. We finally gained entry into a recovery house, then secured a private room. After 6 months of living in a normal routine, nothing has changed on her end. I am not driven by a need for sex, but I do desire to feel loved and wanted. If she would even be cuddly or comforting at times, that would be sufficient. She is not a clingy girlfriend, and that is fine. The only issue is that, from an outsider's perspective, we appear to be merely good friends. At least that is what I think. She is absolutely stunningly beautiful, and everyone stops to admire her. She seems unaware of her beauty, which makes her even more attractive. She has faced past trauma, which may explain her lack of physical intimacy. I just know and remember that it was she who approached me initially and that she had no issues making advances. This makes me question if that is the situation and reason behind our current circumstances. I find myself making excuses for her. I always have, because I am embarrassed to admit that this beautiful girlfriend of mine and I have not been intimate in almost 7 years. I would never dare admit that to anyone in person because it reflects poorly on me. If she was genuinely interested in me, desired me, and was still attracted to me, then why wouldn't she initiate any form of physical affection? I have asked her, I have hinted, I have been patient, and I have inquired what I could do to improve this. I am basically told that everything is fine and that she loves me. That is all. She does not elaborate, and I am left feeling like I did not get any answer at all. Weeks pass and still nothing changes. I am growing bitter and resentful. I am miserable, and I hate to admit that I want to make her feel miserable too. I do not want to feel that way toward her or anyone. I just do not know how to handle this. I do not want to consider life without her because that thought terrifies me. Yes, I am very codependent. I recognize that it is unfortunate. I despise having a pity party. It is what it is though. On top of everything else, I happened to look at my browsing history on the website I was on, and we typically share Google accounts. I saw that pornography was searched, and yes, I was shocked. Mainly because she acts like a prude now when discussing sex between us. I tried to tell her that it is okay to watch pornography. I have those feelings too now that we have been clean. I attempted to explain to her that it is normal and that if she felt the need to watch pornography, why wouldn't she say anything to me? Now I understand it does not always have to include me. Alone time can happen, and that is acceptable. However, when we have not been intimate for 6.5 years and I have been consistently asking her about the reasons behind our lack of intimacy, that becomes a significant problem for me. I want to feel good too, and I would love to make her feel good if I could. Yet I felt disrespected. I felt emotionally betrayed, and it was sad. I brought it up and she exploded, making it my fault that we were arguing. I asked her why she could not just express or make any moves on me to indicate her interest. She stated, "It's too much work and it isn't about you." Can I say ouch? That hurt deeply. I was taken aback for a few moments. I never imagined she believed that our intimacy was akin to work. For her to say it wasn't about me felt terrible because it should have been. She regarded it as a positive viewpoint, but it was truly hurtful that I did not cross her mind while she was viewing pornography, even for a brief visual moment. Please let me know if I am being too clingy or excessive. She tells me I am crazy and that everything is fine. Fine, fine. However, if everything is genuinely fine, why has she still not even attempted to hold my hand after 2 months since I found that out? Let me backtrack and say I began to notice that every time I touched her leg, shoulder, or any part of her body, she reacted as if I had scabies or as if I were a stranger. She would flinch as if she were frightened. Over the years, this became worse to the point where even if she saw me approaching her and I touched her leg, she would still react the same way. I do not understand how she can say I scared her when she saw me, especially. I began to notice that when I would accidentally bump her, it hurt my feelings deeply, so I ended up walking on eggshells trying to ensure I did not come into contact with her. She never seemed to notice or miss my touch cuddling at night or simply wanting to feel her skin against mine. That bothered me as well. I became acutely aware of how she responded to anything I did or said, and she never responded. Anyway, back to me bringing up the pornography. She would become embarrassed, saying things like, "Come on, man, stop talking to me right now, trying to make me look like I'm some kind of sex freak." Or she would say, "SHHHH, stop, be quiet. Someone is probably going to hear you," and I would have to cease the conversation. I would get no answer, and eventually the conversation would repeat itself. I am literally telling her I want to engage in the activities we used to enjoy before the drugs, which includes being intimate with each other, going out, or doing things that would enhance our future together. She provides me with one-word answers to questions that require at least a paragraph or two in response. It is unfair to me that I am constantly trying to figure out how to make this better. How can we develop a healthy sexual and loving relationship together? I feel like I am the only one genuinely trying and wanting us to succeed. My vision of the future includes her beside me, but I am unsure if that is how her future appears. This is taking a tremendous toll on my self-esteem, and I am obsessing over it. If she was at least showing some interest or even a little bit of attraction toward me, I would not feel the urge to hound her. Why do I even feel like I am pestering her? Well, that is what she says, that I am annoying and should be quiet. I have literally been crying to her and expressing my love for her. Her response was, "Shut up, I don't want to hear any of that I love you nonsense." I do not even receive an apology for her harshness when this occurs. I am always crying, and once a week I bring it up. It has become a cycle, and it is an unhealthy situation. Another issue is that she has been using my mother's phone for about 2 months. She also acquired a laptop which she solely uses. In the past, we always shared the same Google accounts. It was her decision to create a separate account for her laptop. I do not care, her phone was my mother's, so it is another separate Google account. I finally wanted to look at my mother's phone because something urged me to do so. I will also mention that we attend therapy and have separate therapists. She has never stayed long to talk to them until this one woman. Now she is nice, and she is attractive as well and skilled at her job. I never felt jealous or threatened. I did not have to. I began to notice she was spending a full hour in her session instead of just 5 minutes. Okay, I was pleased she finally found someone she was comfortable with. I noticed she began to dress up, wearing makeup and nice clothes. I attributed it to her desire to feel better. Well, I was informed by my therapist about my relationship and asked if I wanted to attend therapy sessions together. I was taken aback, not understanding why. It seemed my therapist knew something that I didn't. I broke down and shared what had been happening. I also declined because I feared my girlfriend would lash out at me and blame me for the situation. I was genuinely scared and embarrassed. I asked my therapist why she would bring that up. What was she indicating, if anything? I did not want to place myself on a pedestal to think I was a topic in her sessions, but that is how I felt. My therapist reassured my fears by telling me that my girlfriend never talks about me with them. Isn't that amusing? So I started to pay more attention to their interactions. My girlfriend forgets that I can sense when she is interested in someone. I am familiar with her signals when she has a crush. She had to be literally interrupted for us to leave on time for a scheduled test. She was the one who instructed me to hurry up for our one-on-one that day. I finished in 5 minutes and was still waiting for her. My therapist had to knock on their door for her to come out and we were late. She informed me that she had told her therapist she needed to leave twice but then felt guilty about saying it again. Why would you feel guilty about that? So I checked my mother's phone and saw a number saved with no name on the Text Now app. She has been texting her therapist for 2 months. Her justification is that the therapist suggested this because she is uncomfortable discussing her past trauma in person. Okay, that's understandable but not entirely acceptable. I was never made aware of this and we typically discuss everything. I have my own issues and the only reason I communicate with my therapist is for scheduling or court appearances. The therapist's side is entirely professional from what I can tell, but why is my girlfriend asking her how her weekend went? She hasn't asked me that in years. She claimed the reason it isn't saved is that it isn't her phone, yet she has saved another friend's number. Texts were also deleted, which I can tell. The therapist does not text after office hours, so it appears professional, but what could be so sensitive that cannot wait until their next appointment? I expressed my discomfort with the situation. My girlfriend seems more concerned about this woman losing her job than how I feel. She refuses to want to go there, she just never intends to attend again. To me, that does not suggest that nothing is happening between them. I need answers, but she will not provide any. No pun intended. Story 2. My best friends slammed me online, ignored me for months, and filmed my worst moments. Now I'm stuck in this toxic group until graduation. Why do you keep coming back? We all hate you, they yelled. How do I survive these last 2 months of high school? My title is somewhat simplified. However, I am going to inform you that this is a lengthy read because there is a significant amount of detail. For context, I am a senior in high school, and my friends have completely ignored and cut ties with me for the past 6 months or so. I do not particularly care about them as individuals since I only have about 2 months left with them before graduation, but I want to avoid making the same mistakes in the future. I have been genuinely good friends with these individuals for about 3 years. I invited a few of them into the group and have taken a couple of them on trips. However, I tend to sidestep conflicts and arguments by laughing them off, which may not be the best approach. To begin, around the end of last year, my friends and I had a small gathering or get-together. Toward the end, we went for a walk around the neighborhood. I was not in the best state of mind and neither were they. One of these individuals who I had known my entire life and with whom I was practically best friends began discussing me and my family. He said some really hurtful things and then called me a coward when I refused to fight him. I told him I did not want to because he was my friend. He then pushed me, I pushed him back, he punched me, and I hit him in return. I immediately requested an Uber and left. A few weeks later, I regretfully lost a game. I am not going to specify which game because it will be obvious who I am if they see this, and had to complete a punishment decided by the winners. They assigned me something that would reflect very poorly on me and could potentially jeopardize my future college admission. I declined and requested something less severe, preferably something that would not affect my future. They told me to stop being a coward and to accept the punishment. They also decided that I would not be allowed to attend any hangouts or parties until I completed my punishment. I thought they were joking. However, I was not invited anywhere for 3 months. If I reached out online, I would be left on read, ignored, or responded to with hostility, being told that I had to fulfill my impossible punishment. They would not even speak to me at school without bringing up this issue, and I began to realize that they would not talk to me in person either. I was very upset by this, especially because even though I have other friends, no one does anything outside of school. It is just this group, so I feel somewhat trapped with them. At one point, I struggled to sleep because I was anxious about this situation, wondering if it would resolve, and more importantly, feeling completely ignored by individuals I had considered my best friends only a few months earlier. There were several instances when I learned about gatherings or parties, asked to attend, and was told that I could not. 2 of the girls in this group felt sorry for me and tried to ensure I would be invited, but the other members would not budge, often saying things like they assumed I would not want to be there. Eventually, I was invited to a party hosted by one of these girls, and things seemed to improve somewhat after that. I began receiving invitations again, even if I had to find out about the plans by overhearing their conversations or reaching out after the hangout had already commenced. However, at one of these parties, my friend opened his phone and I saw a group chat notification titled with my name. Everyone was in it, the entire group, both guys and girls. I felt devastated. I did not indicate that I was aware of it, but over the following week or so, I noticed that people were messaging within that chat. We had previously had a group chat with the same members, but it had been inactive since I stopped being invited to events. Over the past few weeks since discovering this, I have observed certain things. They all communicate in that group chat, which explains why I never hear about anything. More frustratingly, the background photo of this group chat is an unflattering picture of my face taken at an awkward moment while I was caught blinking and turning my head. To top it off, yesterday, when we all gathered, I saw that the photo had been changed to one of me passed out on a couch. Returning to my story, things had been as smooth as they could be until a couple of weeks ago. I went to the usual meeting spot, which is my good friend's house. He invited me over as he is part of this group and is probably the only one who has not treated me poorly. We were just hanging out. Around midnight, we were all pretty intoxicated and sitting on the couch when one of these guys stood up in front of us and began shouting at me. The guy who punched me earlier also joined in. He said things like, "Why do you hang out with us? We all hate you. And why do you keep coming back when you just get bullied?" He then continued discussing how I had been excluded and other such things, although I cannot recall the rest of his comments. He ultimately slapped me and made some additional remarks. I took an Uber home, documented what I remembered from that night to ensure I would not forget, and went to bed, but not before messaging him to ask why he had been so cruel to me that night. I wanted to give him a chance to apologize, but when I woke up I received a response stating, "I don't remember what happened, but what I said was the truth." This individual had been my best friend for approximately 3 years. We got along exceptionally well and we had rarely experienced any issues before this. One of the other guys recorded this entire encounter and sent it to the group chat. One of the girls responded with laughter, asking what I had done to provoke him, as if I had instigated the situation and it was a normal occurrence. I know this because the guy next to me was on his phone and I saw the group chat. There have also been several other times when I have been fairly certain that they were filming me. Regarding what he stated, I am not truly bullied by these individuals. Sure, I was excluded before, but currently I mostly attend everything even if I do not participate in planning. In person, we get along well. It feels a bit strange over the past few months, at least from my perspective, but I try to ignore it. There have been occasions when I show up and one of the girls will say something like, "Oh, my name, you came too," or "Oh, I didn't know you were coming." We do not argue or have any issues unless someone has had too much to drink. They always seem happy to see me when I arrive at events. At school, we exchange greetings in the halls. I stopped sitting with them at lunch back in January. Now, with the school year coming to an end and my friendship with all of them nearing its conclusion, I thought I would inquire about the group chat and its contents. I asked a good friend of mine, someone I have known my entire life who has not participated in any of this but has been passively involved, what the group chat was about. I trust this person, and he is one of the two individuals in this entire group with whom I intend to stay in touch after high school. He claimed he had no knowledge of the group chat and stated that it does not exist, asserting that they would not treat me that way and that I am overthinking things. I asked another individual and he also claimed ignorance, stating that it does not exist and that there would be no reason for it to. Two others echoed this sentiment as well. I know they are all involved in this. I simply want to understand why I am excluded and what transpires within that chat. That last part occurred last night. I seek advice on how to cope with this situation. I have not done anything wrong to anyone in this group. I drive them around when they cannot drive, I converse with them at school, and I used to check in on them. At this point, I find this situation intolerable. It feels odd to know they have a group chat without me, especially one that features my name in the title. Do they feel guilty? They must realize that I am aware of this by now. I feel as though these people do not take me seriously, and it makes me exceedingly bitter. I have approximately 2 months remaining with these individuals. I would appreciate advice on how to endure these final months. It feels strange to be among people who engage in activities without me. I essentially have to pretend to be friends with these individuals, which I cannot tolerate. However, outside of this group, absolutely nothing happens. No one arranges anything. As an extrovert, I need to be around others. It is manageable in person, as I have mentioned, but I just feel uncomfortable. If I attempt to address the issues by individually asking how to resolve my apparent problems with the group or what I did to cause this situation, they simply shut down or say something about not being sure what the problem is or not noticing any issue. Since someone may advise me to stop associating with these people, I genuinely cannot. Some of my best friends are in this group, so leaving is not an option. Additionally, I have invested 4 years into these individuals. Moreover, no one outside of this group makes plans, so I would just be stuck at home. Recently, this has done a significant amount of damage to my self-esteem. I am beginning to doubt myself, overly analyzing everything I do in social situations to determine if I am acting strangely and worrying about my future in college, if a similar situation might occur again. I genuinely need advice on how to survive the next few months. How do I get along with this group? How do I disregard their obvious issues with me, I never did anything to warrant this treatment, and when I ask what happened, they brush it off as if they are uncertain as well. I apologize for venting. I truly appreciate anyone who took the time to read all of this. To summarize, my friends have been treating me poorly for the past 5 months, and I am uncertain how to proceed and make amends with them.